Are you in love with football? And what about sports betting? Do you want to earn really big money from it? Experts of Betfac prepare dozens of solid and safe predictions with high odds every day, so you can win a lot and stably. Just sign up through the link in the description and punish your bookie.
Manchester United haven't won at Stamford Bridge in 6 years. They've made a shocking start to the season, and tomorrow they face a Chelsea side still unbeaten under Maurizio Sarri. It's where it all started for Jose Mourinho in the Premier League, but will another loss to the Blues spell the beginning of the end for him? Hi all, welcome to the show once again. Let's all of us celebrate the return of the Premier League, shall we? Not to denigrate the international football we've been witnessing over the last week, which was actually chock full of incident. But this Premier League season is a bit like one of those paperback thrillers you hate to put down. Anyway, I wonder what plot twists are coming our way this weekend. In particular at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea will do their former manager no favours as the red roller coaster comes to town. And United will have to come up with a way of stopping the league's MVP. Is the Blue Star in for a bruising? Plus, fantasy fans might want to start taking some of the cut price signings out there seriously, as these guys will probably rack up the points again. Now, I can tell you that will probably have caught the ear of Michelle Holland, who's hoping to make a move up our FPL mini-league herself. Of course, she's here today to filter your thoughts and questions through to me and our UK guest, who today will be the Guardian football writer, Don Fifield.
I think the less I say about Fantasy Premier League, John, the better. I'm going to leave that up to Paddy from The Sweeper, who'll be by later. So if you do have any burning questions for him, do let me know what those are. But if, like me, your fantasy team features a fair few players from Chelsea and United, you could be in a bit of a pickle this weekend. Or could you? Because aside from the usual score predictions, what I'd like to know is, do any of you think United might win the game? And if so, why? As always, your comments are welcome.
All right then, Michelle. You know, that question of Michelle's, does anyone think United will win, isn't quite as cheeky as some people may think, because their form, Chelsea's, against Manchester United is really very, very dominant indeed. Recent history does not favour Manchester United. Let me give you a sense of that, because Jose Mourinho, his record against Chelsea playing away from home, he actually beat them twice with Inter. One of those results came at Stamford Bridge. But then Conte's Chelsea thumped him, and then twice in the Cup and once in the league. It's been 1-0 to the team in blue ever since. Just to continue this dominance that Chelsea have been enjoying, a few facts for you. Manchester United have actually lost more than they've won against Chelsea. Lost more than anyone in the league. Another reason why this doesn't bode particularly well for them is this. Chelsea have lost just one of their last 16 home league games against United. Just one. And remember, in all competitions, not since 2012 either. Again, it doesn't look good if you're looking at Manchester United here. All competitions, nothing doing. And that's remarkable, really, given their record generally against everybody. And that's 6 years, as I said at the top of the show. Again, a negative here. On their last 2 league visits, defeats there, conceding 5 goals in that time and scoring none. And just for good measure, let's remind ourselves just how disappointing they have been over the last 5. 10 goals against, only 2 goals scored. Now, these are 3 things that I think we have to bear in mind when it comes to the game this weekend. 3 really important things. First up, there'll be no sympathy whatsoever for Jose at Stamford Bridge. This is because of the acrimonious circumstances in which he left the club last time out. No one will do him any favours there, not least the fans. Maurizio Sarri as well, a very astute manager. His team has got some momentum. He does not want that to be derailed by the international break. He'll want to pick up where they left off. And lastly, the MVP, undoubtedly, of the Premier League this season, Eden Hazard. Everyone wants to stop him. Just how do you stop him? Mourinho's done it before. Will the Belgian get kicked? OK, Dom Fifield, football writer for The Guardian, joins me right now for the first time today. Dom, let's get stuck into this thing here, and I use that term quite deliberately. I've been talking about Hazard maybe getting a kicking on the pitch, but Chelsea could be disposed to put the boot into United, couldn't they?
Quite a few of those Chelsea players have got axes to grind still with Jose Mourinho. I mean, you only have to look at David Luiz and the comments that Mourinho made when he sold David Luiz back to PSG all those years ago. There are a few there who will see this as an opportunity to get one over on their former manager. But look, no sentiment at all. They'll just go for it, and Chelsea are on a roll. As far as they're concerned, they're title challengers at this stage of the season. They will just see this match as an opportunity, first to reinforce their position at the top of the table, but also to inflict real damage on Mourinho and Manchester United, who, they still carry a certain kudos in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we go back, don't we, of course, to the out-of-court settlement that followed Mourinho's departure last time. So whichever way you look at it, whether it's the players like Luiz or even those at boardroom level, they would not mind Mourinho suffering a bit at the bridge. But moving on from that, Dom, the other thing as well is momentum. And Sarri has done so much right. And I would imagine that he wouldn't have wanted that international break because, as I said, he'd hit upon a format that was working very, very well indeed.
Absolutely, and it's surprising really with Sarri because he's adapted so well to the Premier League. His players have adapted to what he wants, the philosophy that he wants them to play. He hasn't used very many of them in the league. He likes continuity. I think he trusts the guys that he's had in the team for largely. I mean, really, they tweak very little. Ross Barkley occasionally comes in for Mateo Kovacic in midfield, but generally speaking, it's the same 11 that gets put out every week. He's got a few options if needed, but yeah, you're right. The international break was probably something that checked momentum for him. It must be always a concern when players disappear off around the world in those fortnights to play for their national teams. But there's so much confidence around Chelsea at the moment. They're a side that's flying. They won't look at their run of fixtures forthcoming with any sense of dread. They're tearing into these games with the confidence of a side that's excelling at the top of the division. They're the surprise package. They all give United a really tough afternoon.
Well, let's turn our attention, Dom, to Manchester United right now. And it might have been an international break, but the negativity surrounding the club just went on and on and on. Let's look at this through the eyes of some headlines here from the Manchester Evening News. This was Paul Scholes, widely quoted as saying, everyone's laughing at us, in particular our rivals, in particular Manchester City. A John Cross exclusive in the Mirror saying that the current players were fed up with the past players who are now pundits having a go at them all the time. But it didn't really end there, because then you've got Gary Pallister, the ex-player, slamming Romelu Lukaku for saying why not when asked about a move potentially to Juve and Serie A at some stage. Another negative, after just 9 months, Alexis Sanchez, not pictured there, rumoured to be looking for a way out. So where was the good news, the positivity? Rather bizarrely, the smile on Mourinho's face was brought about by a new contract for a player who looked as if he might have struggled some time ago at Manchester United, Luke Shaw. Well, back we go to Dom Fifield. Isn't it bizarre that Luke Shaw, of all people, who looked as if he'd been bullied out of that football club, provides the only bright story, the bright, shining light of the last fortnight?
Staggering. There's an irony to it, isn't there, given all the problems between Shaw and Mourinho over the last few years. But he has been their outstanding player. He's the one player that's been consistent, really. Even the likes of David De Gea haven't really been at their top levels as yet. So I think it's wonderful testament to Luke Shaw and his powers of persistence. But that said, if your left back is your star performer, there is trouble. I mean, and I think even the victory over Newcastle United demonstrated that. They papered over a few cracks that performance.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because it's the left back this season. It's been the goalkeeper for umpteen seasons before that in the shape of David De Gea. United, you just have to look at their position in the league table and understand that they are with a negative goal difference. They've let in way more goals than you'd expect them to. And of course, the forwards aren't firing as you'd expect either. So can Mourinho honestly say to himself, yeah, I'm capable of going and parking the proverbial bus at the bridge? After all, they were only 1-0 when he went there recently against Chelsea. Any chance of him stopping them?
Well, if Ander Herrera was fit and available, to do a marking job on Eden Hazard, then they would stand more chance, I think. If Jesse Lingard was fit and available and able to close down Jorginho in midfield, I think they'd have more of a chance. The reality is neither of those players is likely to be fit and available for this match. And the chaos against Newcastle United, let's not forget, Newcastle had scored 4 goals going into that game at Old Trafford. They could have had 4 or 5 in the first half alone. There was a penalty that wasn't given for handball against Ashley Young. There was an excellent save from David De Gea. They conceded twice in the first 10 minutes, United as well. And the chaos in that United team, Mourinho taking off a centre-half after 19 minutes, and everything afterwards was desperation, really. Look, it worked, fantastic, but it didn't really suggest security. I think they will really struggle at Chelsea.
Dom, very quickly, because we have to address this before we do anything else, what if it goes wrong this time around? What for Mourinho?
I think he'll limp through this next bunch of fixtures, which are pretty daunting, but the next international break in November will be key. Let's see where United are then, because there's an opportunity there, a fortnight where United could act.
Thanks, Dom. Let's think about the future, shall we? This was something by Juan Mata. You'd have to be, I think, a British expat to understand that headline, but the point is pretty clear, isn't it? The only way is the next 6 fixtures. And if you do look at Juan Mata's comments, he says we're going to know where we are come late November. It's tough, isn't it? Chelsea followed by Juventus twice in this run of fixtures. They've got Everton to play. Bournemouth, no easy proposition these days. And that run of fixtures ends with a Manchester derby on November the 11th. Wow.